The moment the world never imagined would come has finally arrived, following months of rumors reverberating around Buckingham Palace, minor adjustments to official photographs, and unending public conjecture. This moment was the result of all the subtle absences from official occasions, the murmurs, and the covert glances. For the first time, Princess Catherine has spoken up. Her voice echoed throughout the royal grounds, calm and measured, but with a certain sadness that left the nation and the monarchy in shock. Her revelation was more than just heartbreaking. It validated anxieties that were subtly carried on. Palace doors for several months, a reality no press release could ever truly convey. The room's doors were designed to remain locked, soundproof, and protected from all microphones and inquisitive eyes. There were only a few family members, senior courtiers, and trusted assistants. What transpired within these gilded walls, however, would reverberate around the world and well beyond Buckingham Palace. The graceful but obviously tense Princess Catherine started reading from a handwritten statement. Her words were carefully chosen to communicate something very intimate and unquestionably human, not just to provide information. Please click the bell symbol and subscribe to our channel before we go any further. You get closer to these special royal updates with each like, remark, and share. Take in every moment as the royal family's history is being written. Princess Catherine's voice was a combination of sensitivity and authority. She spoke as a mother as well as the Princess of Wales, revealing details about Prince Louis's health that even longtime royal reporters were clearly shaken by. The word condition was used with caution, but it wasn't entirely defined. Neither refuted nor denied, but there was a weight about it that made the room quiet. Her tone had a little quiver that conveyed a delicate balance between mother instinct and duty, strength and vulnerability. Aides recalled a spooky, almost physical silence throughout the palace, as though the glittering halls themselves were holding their breath. Following the statement, Prince William, who usually remains composed in public, moved away, casting a shadow of slumber. Even the normally stoic Princess Anne was apparently rattled. Within minutes, the palace's communication cables were in full swing. Their schedules were disrupted by national news outlets. The world's media rushed to confirm what appeared to be impossible. The most trusted member of the royal family has broken the family's long-standing silence. Social media took off. Prince Louis-related hashtags trended all around the world in the music industry. By the second, messages of concern, love, and hope were flooding in. However, there was a lot of tension and sadness in the palace. We need to go back in time to see why Catherine's statement rocked the monarchy to its foundation. All along, the symptoms had been present. It's subtle, nearly undetectable, but obvious to astute onlookers. Over time, a pattern emerged of Prince Louis's cropped images, edited appearances, and absence from important occasions. For instance, was listed on the official itinerary for the royal Easter celebration. But there was no sign of him. This was initially written off as a careless oversight, but royal observers saw a developing pattern. The pattern became evident in everything from balcony appearances to Christmas songs. The silence surrounding him became louder, and Louis was gone. And then there was the controversial photo. With Prince Louis as the glaring exception, a family portrait meant to highlight the Wales family's unity looked perfect, polished, and affectionate. Portraitgate was the name given to the incident rather rapidly. Experts in photo editing and digital forensics also contributed. Shadows, space, and stance were discussed on online forums. The world realized something was wrong when social media went wild. A deeper story was suggested by each lost moment and absent grin, a tale of invisible suffering, silent conflicts, and concealed hardships. Princess Catherine's declaration at last offered boldness, clarity, and a humanizing viewpoint that had an impact much beyond the palace's boundaries. Her bravery served as a reminder to the people that despite their golden splendor, the royal family is a human family with weaknesses, anxieties, and a strong bond with their offspring. After Catherine's statement, the palace hurried to answer within hours. A succinct, well-crafted statement emerged. At home, Prince Louis is having more peace and quiet. Although it appeared innocuous on paper, in practice it raised more questions than it did answers. What sort of silence prevents a young prince from participating in public events and family portraits? Why now, following months of conjecture, the press and public were not happy? Tension quietly simmered inside the castle as whispers became louder. There were minor discrepancies in official schedules. Prince Louis was initially scheduled for several engagements, according to calendar records. However, these had been discreetly withdrawn in updated versions. Close assistants became agitated. According to others, Catherine had become more reclusive and was attending private medical appointments in great secrecy. These trips coincided with Louis's absences, which heightened already growing concerns. Even tabloid talk started to change. Once dismissed as rumor, it suddenly attracted the attention of respected reporters who had years of access to the palace. Briefings turned into turf. Overnight, royal communications became more stringent. However, in spite of all the safety measures, it was obvious that something was falling apart beyond those ornate gates. When Catherine was seen leaving the rear entrance of a high-security pediatric facility by herself, it was the decisive moment. Bowing head, encircled by unmarked security cars. There was no comment from the palace that could match the moment's visual gravity. The people saw right away that something was going on. The truth was exposed by a single misfiled paper that was never intended to leave the palace. There was only one name, a delicate message, and a clear connection to Prince Louis. Staff went into overdrive due to the error. All night long, phones rang. Statements were produced by legal teams, yet what was supposed to be kept secret was already visible to the public. The report included meticulous internal procedures, technical medical notes, and continuous pediatric monitoring. Clinical, accurate, but emotionally charged was the picture that was presented by terms like neurodevelopmental tracking, progressive markers, and longitudinal observation. There was no sensationalization of the leak. Simply put, it was factual, and that was enough to rock the castle. Calamity broke out in silence. A new level of physical and digital security was implemented. Staff members received reprimands, and communications were shut down. Administrative supervision, not scandal, had shattered the monarchy's renowned prudence. Senior royals were called to an emergency meeting by King Charles. All but one chair was occupied, Catherine's. Her absence was very noticeable. There were many questions. Was this a calculated silent protest, step, or a mother's silent declaration of her child's fierce protection? Music, voices raised in the room. Normally stoic, Princess Anne broke down in tears. There was a heated exchange of words. Prince Louis was at the center of it all. The palace was split on the issue of his health and the truth about it. It was an unfiltered, quick, and unvarnished confrontation. Emotion or haste had no bearing on royal protocol. The message emerged from the storm of secrecy. At the heart of a beautiful, profoundly human tale was Prince Louis. Within the confines of Buckingham Palace, centuries of custom and authority clashed with maternal instinct, love, and protection. Only shards of this truth emerged as the globe watched, leaving the public desperate for clarification, but also incredibly sympathetic to a royal family's own hardships. The anxiety in Buckingham Palace's halls was palpable just hours after the palace was rocked by the leaked medical file. Each senior staff member and assistant felt the burden of history during those times. The well-planned silence had been broken by the leak. Princess Anne, who had long been seen as the monarchy's most stoic and uncompromising defender of procedure, entered this tempest. However, Anne wasn't upholding tradition this time. She had come to call for Prince Louis, her nephew, to receive justice. Uninvited, Anne attended a senior strategy meeting. Her poise was powerful, her gaze keen. She didn't hold back as she stood in front of King Charles. There was real emotion and authority in every phrase. Catherine reportedly yelled, "You've silenced her," as her voice rose. "And you failed, Louis, in doing so. We've all been let down by you." The room went cold. Employees were taken aback since they were used to the formality and etiquette of palace meetings. In front of them, Anne's typical poise, Her defining serenity and her discipline broke down. She flung a folder with her own copies of the leaked documents onto the table. Each page served as a reminder of the reality they were attempting to conceal. King Charles tried to recover control after being surrounded and taken by surprise. His steady, icy tone attempted to ease the tension. "Anne, you don't have to tell everyone. Not by the world, not by them." However, his words, which were meant to soothe, only made the conflict worse. Anne's voice wavered with emotion, a blend of intense loyalty, anguish, and exasperation. "What happens if you lose the trust of your people? What remains of a throne founded on quiet?" There was silence in the room. Advisors looked at one another, uncertain whether to step in. They had broken protocol. The altercation wasn't political. It was so intimate. Here was a sister looking down on her brother, demanding not just obedience, but also moral clarity and accountability. Soon after, with tears streaming down her face, Anne left the room. Her face softened into silent determination. Although she remained silent, her message was obvious. She had eschewed convention in favor of reality. According to several witnesses, she proceeded straight to Catherine's quarters, possibly to provide support or advice. Catherine had been getting ready behind closed doors. Next step, decisive, irrevocable, and extremely private. In a private drawer, buried beneath layers of family photos, was a handwritten message. It was never intended for the whole public to see, much less her own husband, Prince William, reading it at that very moment. The tone for the letter's unvarnished honesty and vulnerability was established in the first line. "I never had the strength to say it out loud. If you discovered this."